All right, 3, 2, 1.
There was no rhythm to that 3, 2, 1. It was like 3, 2, 1.
Just half-hearted. Welcome to the Honest Designers Show, your transparent look into life as a modern designer. My name's Tom Ross, and I'm the founder at designcuts.com. And this week I'm joined by my fellow Brit and hand lettering expert, Ian Barnard, American retro design expert, Dustin Lee, and the incredibly talented South African illustrator, Lisa Glantz. This week we're talking all about hiring people and delegating. As designers, we're often the ones being hired, but it's important to understand how hiring others can help you. Whether you're looking to scale out your design services or simply take some of your least favorite tasks off of your plate, delegation is definitely worth considering. So without further ado, let's get into the show. So this week we're talking all about delegation, managing people, and obviously keeping it within the spectrum of design. So before you tune out, start nodding off, bear with us because I guarantee this stuff is going to be helpful for you. You don't need to be running a big team. You don't need to start a company or anything like that. We're going to talk about how this stuff is applicable to every single designer out there, more or less, to help you do less of the stuff that you hate, scale whatever it is you're building, and keep everything ticking along smoother than ever. So first of all, here with my lovely hosts, as ever. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Tom.
I feel like when you say lovely host, there's just one lovely host, which is Lisa, and then there's kind of like a couple of trolls that hang out with you.
Funny, as I said, lovely host, I did look at Lisa.
Ian's like, why are you both putting me in that category?
Not my troll
Ian's
brother.
a handsome
It's
man.
true. It's true.
A rose between two thorns.
More like a rose between two like weird weeds.
So yeah, delegation. The reason I was particularly keen to talk about this, obviously I've felt the benefits. I've delegated to some extent over the years, but now we've got a team of 16 people here at Design Cuts and a bunch
That's
of
insane.
remote people and stuff. Trust me when I say it is the best way to try and build out what you're doing. But as I said at the start of this episode, it doesn't have to be to that scale. If that's scary or you don't want it to be, you can literally get an assistant, a part-time assistant, doing hardly anything for you just to make your life that little bit easier. So I thought an interesting place to start. Shall we all do a rundown of our experience with this? We don't need to go super detailed at this point, just kind of touching on have we delegated? If so, how much, in a nutshell? Over to you, Dustin.
Yeah, so I have one person who has worked for me for, over 2 years now, maybe 2.5 years. She works full-time for me. Suzanne, if you're listening, which I know you're not because she hears enough of my voice in regular life. Love you. You do so much for me. And then I have contractors come in and out that tend to, just go for 3-month periods. And between that takes a lot off my plate. I don't really have to answer email, as Tom knows, or I know emails are answered, except for support emails. Product maintenance and things like that is pretty much done by them. Design can be done by them. Product creation can be done by them. Depends on the product and if I want to do it or if I want them to do it. But it's freeing up a ton.
The question is, Dustin, what do you actually do these days?
Yeah, what do you do?
Because you've done a damn good job of delegating.
You have.
He's the looks.
Sometimes I literally am like, what do I do? And then I'm like, well, what I did is made the business and that's enough. And now I do nothing. But the reality is, but the reality is that I have to plan what we're going to do, what's going to be released, create strategic partnerships. And then I dive into things sometimes like that we just released the Procreate brush pack. I made all the Procreate brushes because I was interested in doing it. But lots of times I don't.
And if you're anything like me, which I think you are, you're the last line of defense and you are the setter of the standard. So you might have other people making stuff for you, but ultimately you say if it's good enough or not, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. How about you, Lisa?
Well, as you know, and I'm sure a lot of people listening know, that for a long time I resisted having anybody help me or hire anybody to help me, just because I suppose a whole bunch of reasons, but the main one was I was scared to take somebody on in case I couldn't, keep them busy enough or afford to actually take them on. I had this idea that it was going to be really expensive. And then also that whole thing of control freak, letting go. So eventually I did hire somebody, and Julie is amazing. I
Yay.
am still in the I'm still in the learning phase of like letting go or knowing what I can give her. That and also finding ways to shut my own voice down, which often is along the lines of I'm sure I could do it quicker, or I'm sure I could, I don't know, it's going to be easier if I just do it or whatever. There's a whole lot of kind of reasons that I constantly come up with why I should just quickly bash it out myself. But that's counterproductive and pretty stupid. So I'm kind of training myself to delegate.
So,
which is
sorry, is it Julie, did you say?
Julie, yeah.
What is Julie helping you with then?
Well, for example, she currently literally runs my Etsy shop in terms of she deals with all the communications, unless, I need to answer somebody. There isn't really much to do there because it's kind of runs itself. And she does any like new projects that I'm starting that I'm kind of dabbling in. I'll get her to do some of the groundwork. Sometimes she does a bit of research for me. And then currently she's playing a huge role in a new product that I'm working on. So she's doing like conversions of files and things like that. So at the moment she's
How about customer
amazing,
service?
No, because it's weird. Like when I was frantic and really desperately needing somebody, for some reason the customer service support thing has kind of quietened down. So it's manageable at this stage.
That doesn't mean you shouldn't delegate it still.
I know, but you know what it is. Okay, this is my next challenge, my next hurdle, right? So how do I train somebody to know my stuff inside and out? Because I know you do this, Tom, with your team, to know it so well enough that they can actually answer customer queries. Because I always think I'm the one who created it. I know what's going on.
Dustin, you did this, right, with Suzanne?
Yeah. How do you guys do that?
Do the delegation of the support?
You trust that the other person isn't an idiot, to be perfectly honest.
No, it's not that, because Julie is
I know you don't think that, but you need to remind yourself of that. They're a designer. They're perfectly capable. They can download your stuff. They can learn it. They can play around with it. They can figure it out. You can help hold their hand. You can invest the time up front where you might put more time in up front, but then you're sorted.
That's the thing I noticed. I did support for a long time, and then eventually I just it just became overwhelming because I just started delegating. It was one of the first things I delegated out, and yeah, it's like any job, like people start out being horrible at it, and really quickly they go through about a week of just brutalness, is that because they have no idea what's going on. And like now Suzanne knows more than I do about my products. She answers. Exactly. She can answer the questions better, and I literally have to ask her. I'll be like, "Can you tell me how this works?"
I have the same thing. Yeah.
Can I ask you then how? I'm going to do a bit of an Ian thing now. Okay, can you give me the steps? Like literally, how did you do that? How did you train them? What was the first thing you did?
Let me go first because mine's really quick.
Okay.
I just shared the email. I created an email for them. I redirected it to that person. I said, "Now you're the one that answers the support emails. Always be polite and assume that they're taking a picture of whatever your response is, and they're going to post it on Twitter. And let me know if you need any help." And we figured it out.
Really? That's so like deep end stuff.
Yeah, I went a little bit probably longer with it because I was so precious about our customer support, for example. I would hire the person. I would then work with them for the entire day, training them and push all my stuff into the evening. And I would lay the groundwork of our values and what we stood for and do all that kind of, macro level, higher level training. Then I would sit with them and I would be responding to people and teaching them what I was doing. Then I would gradually let them take over and start doing it, but I would sit with them and tweak their emails as they did it. Then I'd let them go and write the emails on their own, but save it as a draft. So I'd see it before it went
Yeah,
out
and
and make
check it.
comments.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was happy after weeks and weeks and weeks of this, I would let them start sending it themselves. And then I would continue to check in and make sure it was good enough.
Wow. Okay.
Then I grew out a team where other people could do that training and so on, and I didn't have to worry about it. But in the early days, like, I get it. I am the character that finds it impossible to let go. I'm not someone who instantly loves to delegate. And hopefully listeners can relate to that, because, as I say, one of the reasons I wanted to do this episode is so many of my followers and designers that I talk with struggle to do this stuff. They struggle to let go. I think the first hire is invariably the hardest, but it's such a game changer. And everyone always moans about, like, I'm a designer and I love most of what I do, but I hate X, Y, Z parts of it. It's like, well, get someone else to do it. Like, we'll get to some roadblocks in a bit about can they afford it, and I want to address all of those concerns this episode, and do keep pushing for specifics because I want to try and give as much value as I can. I know we all do. I think we really need to go nitty gritty rather than just the holistic message of hire people. It's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I can just contest to the fact that you think that you're not going to find somebody amazing, but they do exist. I mean, if I look at Julie, she's so amazing. Like, she, you know how you were saying, Dustin, how, you know, the customer service and how you speak to somebody is so important, and you know, Tom, you're so, you know, precious about it.
Yeah.
I barely had to tell Julie anything, and she's like amazing how she speaks to people over the email, you know. So I think I got lucky, but I still have that.
No. I mean, I'm sure you've got lucky in the sense that she sounds awesome, but you have to realize you're an illustrator.
Yeah.
You should be the best at illustration. You're not a customer service person. I'm sure you're very good at it because you've had to be, but there are people that is their whole thing. That's their illustration to them. They should be better at that than you. And another thing is, you know, like any company, we've had people move on for various reasons. And I've had moments where I think I'm never, ever going to be able to replace them. Like, they were the best. Someone even better comes along.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds terrible. Like, I love my team. I value my team. There's always someone better. And it's good to keep that in the back of your mind.
Well, and like for the first few months, I had this weird thing in my head where I kept doing the support because I felt like this is such sick, twisted thinking. I felt like it's such a lowly task is how I thought of it, to do customer support, that I feel like I'm being like a bossy, crazy person giving them the worst task possible. Yet I thought, well, that's acceptable for me because I'm willing to treat myself like poop. But but I wouldn't give that to them. And then I realized like how important it was and how much it makes a difference in sales and how people feel about the brand. And then one day I was talking to my wife about it, and she said, but where this person worked before, don't people always have to answer emails when they work in design? And I was like, oh, good point, they do. And so I asked her, and she said the same thing. She said, well, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I answer emails in any design job I've ever had. She does it. It's a totally important, huge job that makes a huge difference in our sales. And we literally have reviews where people are like, I come back to these people because they take such good care of me. I've had people come at me at conferences like many, many, many times and tell me I buy through you purely because I trust you guys so much because you take care of me. So it's a super honorable job. And I think I just had to get over the fact that customer service isn't an honorable job, a not honorable job. It's a super important job. And it's not BS to say it. And whenever I worked
it's actually
customer service, I always thought it was BS when they'd say it. They'd be like, it's so important, you guys. And I'd think, whatever, you guys are lying. But it's true.
You could say the same for pretty much any job as well, right? There's people who do jobs badly and suck at them and give them a bad name. And there's people who are rock stars in pretty much every position. And just a tip for the listeners here, something I know I was guilty of in the past, exactly what you just talked about, Dustin. I would almost feel embarrassed to delegate something. Maybe it was something more on the admin side, for example. And I'd be like, oh no, I can't. That'll be boring for someone, etc., etc. And there's people who obviously are into that stuff and want to do that job. So what I used to do was I'd almost like misrepresent it. I'd put it out there as something which I thought was more interesting or better than what it actually was, end up hiring the wrong person, and then constantly trying to flower it up and be like dangling a carrot of there being something more creative or whatever there, and be like, oh, but there is more than that. And that's terrible, because the person doesn't fully know what they're getting into. They're not going to be happy because they're expecting something different, and you're not going to get the most out of them. Now we are so transparent. We literally have them in for a day to work with us before they finally accept the job. So they know exactly what they're getting into. They can see like a day in the life of, not just someone telling them in an interview. So it's so transparent. As soon as they join, there's no surprises. They're like, oh yeah, this is literally exactly what I knew it was going to be. And guess what? We now have people doing everything from customer service to admin, and they love it and they're great at it.
Yeah.
And it's not like boring or dreary. We've got someone who started in admin, one of the coolest characters that I know, like unbelievably good at what she does, like such a personality in the office. Like I think, as you said, Dustin, it's almost like insulting to misrepresent jobs in this way.
Yeah. Well, and in small businesses like you have, or especially like I have, mine is so small, you have so much more freedom. So when she started doing that, so many neat things happened. Like she loved this band. She loves this band. Suzanne loves this band called, oh no, I can't remember the name of it. Widespread Panic. She loves Widespread Panic. And then like a designer like writes and asks a question. Turns out they're designing a poster for Widespread Panic. Then she knows someone is making Widespread Panic posters. And they're like, hey, can I send you a poster for free? Like, since you like them, let me send one to you. So, or like HBO contacted, can I say that? Yeah. HBO contacted us like the other day. Next thing you know, she's talking to an HBO person. Maybe they're going to steal her away. I don't know. Good for her. You know, like so many cool things happen. I mean, it's a neat job. She meets so many people.
That's very cool. And I want to get into the value for them and how you can develop them in just a second. Ian, we've got to come back to you here, mate. Sorry, we went off on the world's longest tangent there. And I realized, we were kind of going through people's experiences of delegation. I realized you haven't done a massive amount of this, but you have done some, right?
A little bit, a little tiny bit.
What's that
So
look like?
I've got something I struggled with putting preview images together for my products. So I outsourced a bit to Megan, who did a bit for me, and then I hadn't really released that many products this year. And the ones I had were in collaboration with someone else, and we sort of built that together. So didn't need her services that. And I've used a couple of people to outsource the parts of like design, like typefaces, the bits that I don't like doing, to help me. That's been about it, really.
But I love that, for the record, and I really want to dig into the details of that in just a second. But look at the four of us, right? We've got me with a decent sized team. We've got Dustin, who's got a full-time member of staff. We've got Lisa, who's got a part-time member of staff. And we've got you, who delegates sporadically with bits you need. We've literally covered all bases for the listeners here. And so I think that's great, because it's not one size fits all. It's proof that delegation is applicable in all kinds of scenarios. So,
and that you can find what you actually need.
Exactly.
Sorry to add that.
Yeah, 100%. So Ian, I'd love to get into, why did you delegate? How's it helped you? What's it made you freed up your time to do, and that kind of stuff?
But now?
Yeah, like well, even like when you were doing a little more of it with the previews, for example, with the font stuff, like what does that look like?
So for the font stuff, it was the kerning. So I just send it off to, there was a couple of people I was using, just send it off, and then they'd send back, a few days later, all done. And I'd just.
And how long would that have taken you, or at least would you have lost your sanity if you had to do it?
It was more my sanity than the actual time.
Yeah.
Is that the why? That's why you did it?
Yeah. So I don't suppose it only freed up a little bit more time for me. It was just, I didn't want to do it. That was not like, I nearly could do with this time back. It was just, I don't want to do it.
Just because you didn't enjoy it very much?
No.
Okay, let's go deeper. Why didn't you enjoy kerning?
Does that need to be answered? Like, I feel like it's so self-evident.
Yeah. Space it,
It's like painful.
Why don't you like organizing stuff in the library? What's that system called? Why don't you like organizing the Dewey Decimal System?
Alphabetizing.
So that was just, I couldn't be bothered, really. More laziness than anything else. Because And
Yeah, but also you learn you start losing love for the product you're making if you're doing all the stuff that you hate doing, kind of thing. That's what I find.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
I think it's a good thing to delegate the stuff you don't enjoy.
For me as a business, I don't feel I have anything that's really zapping my time that much like you guys have. I don't get a ton of emails, and a lot of the emails I get are quite a lot more to do. Actually, I get more emails to do with me, like personal work, than I do for like customer service support.
Yeah.
And so at the moment, I don't need to outsource that. And like something I might have to, a lot of mine is like what would happen in the future. Because like if I'm like building my YouTube channel, it would be then like at the moment, I spend majority of the time me speaking to camera, which is not something I can outsource, if you get what I mean.
Sure.
So,
but what you can do is, like what I do, I record this video and that's it. Someone takes it, edits it, cuts it up, puts it on YouTube, cuts it up into smaller bits, puts it on Instagram. You can do that kind of stuff.
The thing is, that's the bit that doesn't really take that long. It's the me talking to camera and coming up with the idea. So
yeah.
it's I'm like the sticking block, I suppose, in because I know that would be a thing in the future. Once I get better at doing what I'm doing with the video stuff, I can then just dump it all on Dropbox, give it to the person whoever's doing it, and they can put it together and upload it to YouTube. If I'm being more frequent, at the moment I'm doing one video every 2 weeks. So
yeah. So question, Ian, you said you delegated the kerning, for example, because you didn't enjoy it. Same perhaps with the previews. Where, like, what happened with that time? I appreciate it's not a super regular thing. Is it just that you could relax a bit more on those weeks? Did you fill it with something else that was going to further your business, or did you scale back your time and chill? Both of which are cool.
It's been so long since I've done it. I don't know what I did with my time. I probably didn't use it very efficiently. I don't plan things. I think people talk about I don't plan things. I wait for people to chase me up. I not very good at getting back to people. So I maybe could outsource my productivity, but I don't know how that would work with me.
Yeah.
Ian, teach me your ways. You always seem so relaxed and just like, now that you have this new office, it looks all woodsy in there and like you're all laid back and like I just picture you like cracking open the Bible in the evening with a tea and relaxing. Like, I'm not joking. Like
you look like you're in a Wes Anderson movie, man.
Dude, I just want you to teach me how you're doing this. Let's hang out.
The thing is, I don't really worry. I only worry about earning enough money to keep, to pay the mortgage really and feed the family. And so like my son was like, it was his birthday yesterday. We got on a bike and he came over from school today. He goes, I really want to go for a ride. And I was like, I haven't really done any work today because I was like, I did an interview earlier in the day and I'd been out in the morning. I was like, whatever, let's go out. Because I just know
it's
that
the dream, man.
It is the dream, but I never want, with having kids, it's made me really prioritize what the difference between work and play, or, work and my family. And so I know that, my work is very much flexible and that I would just work hard at another point. I can do some work this evening, which, makes up for the time I may have gone out. So I think I could work a lot harder than I do.
Yeah, but you don't have to. Why? Because society says that's the right thing to do. If you're happy.
I heard an interesting question. I won't look it up, but I got this book on saving time, and it was not. They're like, this isn't about productivity because we're not trying to cram more stuff in. We're trying to open up time for the things you like. And they made such a good point. They're like, why does it need to get done today? Why can't it be done tomorrow? Because, typically I'll be like, well, okay, after we get done with this call, then I'm going to work on this next project for Retro Supply. And then I'm going to work on Passive Income for Designers course, like a little bit. But then like I've been asking myself all this week, well, why? Like I just did the product today and I'm doing the podcast. Why do I need to do Passive Income for Designers today? I don't need to do that. That can wait till tomorrow. No one cares. No one's going to be sad or crying at home that I didn't do it. And the more I ask myself, the more I feel relaxed.
I find I prioritize my work based on how I enjoy it. So if there's an enjoyable job to do, I'll do that. And then if there's not an enjoyable job to do, I'll wait for someone to remind me that I need to do that job, and I'll do it quite quickly. So apart from my talk I did for a well-known brand that we won't mention.
You're not allowed to?
Of course I am, but
It's
it just
Nike.
gives them more.
No, it's pretty.
Adidas.
It's pretty cool. Same first letter. Go on, name drop, Ian.
So I did it today at Apple, which is where they get artists into their stores to talk about their journey and give.
Wait, like the Apple?
The big Apple with a bite out of it.
That's very
Apple Records. That's the one that's in the UK, right?
Yeah. You would love that. If I was
That'd
musical,
actually be-
then
that would
maybe
actually
that
be
would have been
cooler.
Green Graces.
plausible.
How did it go, Ian?
It
I
went,
know you were a bit-
it went really well. The thing is, there's things you have to know about me is that at school I really struggled with English, like written English. Well, it sounds weird, writing English. I can write English, but I can't do written English.
Yeah.
And it was the lesson I hated the most. I really struggled. Hated having to read out in the class. Hated having to write.
Me too.
Really struggled. And I struggled like most of my life with English, just getting what's in my head out on paper. And what's happening slowly with my business is that a majority, it's like about 30% of my business now is writing. So this Apple talk I did the other day, I had to spend quite a lot of time crafting the talk. I get a lot of interviews via email that I need to do. I have to write. I write for my posts on Instagram, because I say how important it is to write a good description, and of your journey and why you've chosen to use the words you use. Writing a script for YouTube, otherwise I just waffle on. So yeah, it's slowly becoming an important part of my thing, and the only way I'm going to get better is I just keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not something I can get away with. Like, I can complain and go, that's not something I do.
Yeah.
And I'm good at, but I have to do it.
It's
if I want
inspiring. Honestly, it's really inspiring. I'm similar to you. I'm not a natural with that stuff, and seeing you as someone who's a self-professed, not a natural, go and kill it. It's very, very cool.
It's just immersing yourself, because I've never been very good on camera. I was terrible at eye contact. I was terrible making.
You look so natural now. I mean, it's amazing.
You have to something I mentioned in my talk is that you have to go, when you're doing like the first sketches, I went through my process and I said, when you're doing, you start rough and you start small, and you do as many little sketches and thumbnails that are really rough, like no style to them, they look ugly, and you have to do lots and lots of ugly, bad sketches to decide on what one's the good one. And you can only do that by doing a load of them. And that's what my YouTube journey's been like. I looked at some of them the other day and I'm just sort of sitting there going, hi, welcome to my video. It's just like,
it gets easier. Practice makes perfect.
It gets easier.
I know it's cliche. Same thing for this podcast at the start. It was freaking me out. And now it's like, I just get to talk to my 3 buddies every week. The most normal thing in the world. I want to steer things back to delegation a little bit. So
that was a random.
No, it's very cool. But yeah, I want to make sure we really try and give as much as we can on the delegation front. In my mind, there's 2 reasons why people should do it. It's either time or happiness. We've kind of touched on a few of these already. So time, it's either going to be you're freeing up time to push other stuff forward, or you're freeing up time to fill it perhaps with personal stuff. So Ian, perhaps you could delegate something and then you go and spend more time with your kids, and that's amazing. Or maybe you have certain business goals, you guys, and it's like, okay, so I'm going to delegate, I'm going to save 2 hours, 4 hours a day, whatever, and I'm going to fill that with stuff that's really going to drive it forward, whether it's like attracting new clients, releasing an extra product, doing a new YouTube show, whatever it might be. Or it's the happiness side, where you're filling it with more work, the available time. It might not be driving your business forward, but suddenly you don't have to kern letters anymore, or you don't have to do the job you hate. So it could be as simple as, I get to do more illustration, Lisa, and I get to do less dealing with mean customers, for example. Although I'm sure you don't get hardly any of those. And
not to me.
that is really the whole thing with delegation, and why I think it's so important for virtually everyone is because in this day and age, you can do it on any scale that you want. I totally understand it would be so intimidating to work out like payroll and hire someone full time and deal with all the logistics of that and the tax and the legality. Like that's scary as hell. That scares me. But what you can do is go on Upwork or any one of those people per hour, all these different sites. You can put out a job virtually for free. In fact, I think it is free, and then they just get part of what you pay the person. You post any size job, you get a bunch of interested people. So you don't need to go like, knocking on doors. You get a bunch of interested people. You talk to a few and you go, yep, you're the one. And then you try them out. And it's as simple as that. And I did this way back in the day with my old Photoshop blog. I literally paid someone to go and submit my articles to directories and places where they were going to be found, right? And it got so infrequent. I think at one point I was paying her for 30 minutes work a month, right?
Sure.
Like it can be that tiny. It can be that unintimidating.
Doesn't have to be this huge part of your business.
Exactly. And without sounding exploitative, these sites, you get people from all over. The rates can be really competitive because in their home country, it might actually be really healthy money for them, whereas it might not be so healthy in America. Same way rates are going to differ based on what region of your country you're in, right? Stuff's cheaper up north here. Stuff's probably super expensive in San Francisco and New York compared to other areas of America and so on. So you will get someone who is like chomping at the bit to work with you for $3 an hour or whatever it might be. And suddenly you need them for an hour a month and you're like, okay, there's my $3. It would have cost me more to get a coffee. And suddenly that job I forget to do every month or I hate to do every month, it just happens like magic. And I think that's so useful for everyone listening. Like I challenge everyone listening, write down every task that you do. Start there. Lisa, you were asking for the nitty gritty, right? Literally get it out of your head, write down every single thing that you do, work out the stuff that you keep not getting around to and that you basically don't like and you wish someone else would do. Delegate the stuff you don't like for sure. Out the stuff you don't get around to, work out, are you not getting around to it and therefore that's definitely what you need to delegate? Or is it, I need to free up time because I really should be focusing on this stuff and I'm not?
Let me ask you a question. This has been a bottleneck for me to something that I will delegate in a second. I'm just not sure how you to handle it. So I have, partners like Brad Woodard, Von Glitchka, different people that make products with me, and they get a cut of the sale of the product. So every month I have to either A, send them a check in the mail because that's what they've chosen, or my other option is B, I send them a PayPal payment. Mm-hmm. I hate doing both. I'm oftentimes late because I hate pulling out checkbooks and writing checks. But and also like things with the government, like things like filing things with the government, all that kind of stuff. But the thing is I'm so reluctant to give anyone the information to do those things. It scares me to death to do it, that I continue to do it myself because I'm simply not willing to take the risk, even if I feel like I've put things in place to stop it. Yet those things I hate and they weigh on me constantly.
I'm sure you can get accountants that also offer payroll services and paying people. Have you got an accountant?
I do have an accountant.
Presumably you trust them because they deal with all your money. Could you ask them, like, is this the kind of thing you assist with, or do you know anyone that assists with it?
They will assist with some of that, although they would assist with some of it.
Cool. There you go.
But some not. Like, I haven't found anyone that's like, yeah, we'll file all your stuff with like the government and stuff for you and make sure that gets paid. But maybe I just need to talk to them and be like, hey, please do this or I leave.
Yeah. Or, well, not even that. Like, do you do this? Do you know anyone else that does?
I guess I don't have to threaten them, do I?
Strong arm them from day one.
That's not the way to get what you want.
You know what I did recently? Because I was going to suggest that to you, Dustin, but it might be totally far-fetched for your situation. But I recently, as a joke, asked Cliff, my partner, I said, would you be interested in doing my books? Because that's the part I hate. I absolutely hate accounting. I hate admin. I hate, all that kind of stuff. Although I do have an accountant, I still have to do stuff. I still have to submit stuff to him. I still have to tell him what was earned, where did we spend the money, so on and so on. And as a joke, I just said, "Hey," I said, "Well, maybe you can do my accounts." And he went, "Okay."
That's
And-
funny. I don't
and
picture
was like,
Cliff
"What?"
with like the accountant like visor on and the glasses, but what do I know?
No, but he's literally just doing like, the admin side of stuff of my business, not really the accounting side.
Was he raring to
And
go? Did he pull out an abacus instantly?
He he's been doing it for, I'd say, about 5-6 months now.
Yep.
He's amazing.
Are you paying him for it? Is he on the payroll now?
No, he comes and he asks me like, "Okay, so have you
He
got
lives
any
in the
slip for me?"
castle. Is that not payment enough?
Sure.
He's married to a lovely lady. What else can he ask for? What's he going to do with the money? He's
I
got
don't
it all.
know, Cliff, if
So-
you're listening, mate. I think you need to extort something out of your lovely wife.
But
Maybe your
I can
wife
back
can do
that
your
up.
payments.
Sorry, good.
No, Justin, I was just saying maybe your wife can do your checks.
She is going to come hunting you down, Lisa. On the back
Whenever
of
we
those.
like are overlapping and talking, we should just silent and be like,
Paper, scissors.
okay, so to back up like that, you're totally right about that. Last week or last month, my wife was sweet enough that she knows I hate it, and she'd come in and see me working on it. She said, "Do you want me to like write the envelopes? Because I can stamp them, but we have to custom put in, write who it goes to and stuff." She's like, "Do you want me to do that part and stuff for you?" It got done so much quicker and made it so much better. So I really should do that. I have to share something related to this because I have this quote I just recently saw and I happen to have it in front of me. It's by a guy named Alan Watts.
I love him.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I love Alan Watts too so much.
How do people know all these people?
He's a real quick background. He's a philosopher, studied Christianity and then like Zen, both, and kind of mixed. He calls himself a spiritual entertainer. Anyways, here's this quote from him that's so good. Quote, "If you say that getting money is the most important thing, you'll spend your life completely wasting your time. You'll be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living. That is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid."
Totally.
I love the way you spoke like that. It's like a gangster. You're stupid.
Hey,
Well,
man.
he says it like that. He's
Stupid
like, well,
idiot.
he has a British accent, so he's like, which is, I don't know, you guys do it, which is stupid. But
Preposterous.
like, and I was like,
Well, it
I was
is.
outside listening to that one night as I was taking a walk, and I was like, yeah, this is really stupid.
It is. And I kind of have the stupid gene where I'm like, gotta grow, gotta be bigger, gotta push. But that is not
Why
necessarily,
do we do
I
that?
don't know, it's crazy, but it's not necessarily what I'm advocating here at all. What I'm advocating is for everyone listening that you at least try to delegate something small. Go on one of these websites, find a cool person, and I guarantee at least Lisa and Dustin will testify to this. Once you do it, you feel like you can never go back, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Imagine tomorrow if I just took both your people away and was like, good luck. Like, A, you'd
Yeah.
struggle to find the time because you probably filled it with something else. And B, you wouldn't want to because if you delegate right, it's like, how did I ever do that without? Same thing for you, Ian, in fact. If suddenly it's like, you need to do all your kerning now, it's like, damn it, I thought I'd left that behind.
well, and even for someone like Ian, who's not actually like hiring and delegating someone, he has partners, right? Which are essentially like you're paying them through other means than an hourly wage. And if I think about if all my partners were taken away and contractors, my business would just like collapse. It would be like all of like the supporting beams had been removed from my house.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, shall we touch on the objections that people have? Because I think that's very important. I think people listening, they might have got a little spark of motivation. They're like, you know what, I might actually finally hire someone for that annoying thing I've been meaning to get rid of or get off my plate. And that's great. But if you're not feeling motivated enough yet, let's address some key objections, right? So, first one is, I don't want to, it's scary. I feel like
Yeah.
I don't know where to start. That might be one. I have no
Yes.
idea where to start. What would you guys say to that?
Well, it depends on your platforms that you frequent. So I don't know if you have a whole lot of Twitter followers or Instagram, or you spend a lot of time on Facebook. You could literally put your feelers out there as a start, and you'd be surprised how somebody knows somebody who knows somebody who's looking for exactly what you need.
Is that what you did, Lisa? I think you reached out to your followers, did you?
I No, actually, I didn't. So I had to think about that. I actually contacted Diane that you guys have all used, and yeah, she basically she started the ball rolling, and what actually happened was, because of the podcast and you always nagging me to death about it, I actually had a few people emailing me saying, I'd be really keen, and tell me if you want to chat or whatever. And a few people did get hold of me, and the one in particular, who was Julie, I did end up speaking to, and yeah, I ended up going with her. So it wasn't even through an agency that I ended up finding somebody. So yeah, you can find ways, I guess.
Perfect.
Like that.
I have a slightly different story. Although I think it's worth mentioning Diane Gibbs. She particularly specializes in people like us that have small businesses that aren't, gigantic businesses with 401ks and all that stuff. And
and Diane, if you're listening, we all want freebies for touting your business inadvertently here.
She is the sweetest woman. She's completely a giving person. You can look her up very easily. Just look up Diane Gibbs, designer. You'll find her, and you can contact her. But I started actually because I didn't know Diane, or hadn't thought of asking Diane at that point. I went through a site called Zirtual, Zirtual, and it was United States-based virtual assistants, and I did that for about 6 months. It was more expensive because they are in the United States, and because they take a cut, and because they're managing and watching what's happening with the people. She did a good job, but she didn't have, I realized, the design background that I really needed to get more leverage. But that was my first person. I just felt like it let me wade into it, and someone started doing things, and the business didn't get destroyed, and it didn't, plus I didn't feel the pressure of, oh no, someone's relying on me to make them live. No, Zirtual is who they're relying on to make them live. If I go away, they just get put into a different bucket. Right? So that takes the pressure off of feeling like I have to do that. So going through something like that is a good way to wade into it, even if it costs a little more.
And these people, they are genuinely so keen for work. You'll put out a basic job. It'll be like, I need someone to tidy up my Photoshop files, or convert these, or change the colors on these, or put together a proposal document I can use for clients, whatever it might be. Often you will get 30 to 50 applications. The one I like is Upwork. It's pretty good. And you'll just get bombarded with applications. It's like TripAdvisor or one of those sites. They're all rated generally. You can see the ones that have done a bunch of jobs, got 5-star reviews, client testimonials. It's super safe. All of your payment details are really secure as well. It all goes through the key main site. So it's not like you need to organize a payroll or pinging stuff to their private PayPal or whatever. You just sign up, you attach your card to your main account, and you choose the person you want to work for you. And they either get the job done for a flat rate, or they clock hours every month and that kind of thing. And you can set caps, so it's not like you wake up and all your money's gone because they said they worked 1,000 hours that week. It's all perfectly safe. And the beauty is, you could find one person to do a bunch of stuff, or you could have 6 people all working for 2 hours a week for you, just doing all the little jobs which you don't enjoy. And imagine if you freed up 1 day a week collectively, and just by, you might spend $50 a week on it or something. Not huge money. If you've got that money available, happy days. Suddenly your happiness would go up. You're creating more. You might have a bit of time to finally breathe and be think strategy. How am I going to get more clients? How am I going to grow my business? As I say, you might have time with your family. It's so worth doing. And to start, either talk to someone with connections like Diane, who does this almost like a recruiter, or go to one of these sites, or like Lisa says, ask your existing following, I need a bit of help with this. Anyone interested? That's it. Just get the ball rolling.
And if you want to dig into this, this is overly said, but the 4-Hour Work Week, there's an expanded and updated edition. And he has a whole little section in there where he talks about, here's precautions. Here's a list of updated places you can try out. Maybe you don't like them, but it kind of gives you all those little details you want to see in a book. And it's just one section of the book, but it's interesting. But here's something else I realized about outsourcing things, particularly how you're mentioning, Tom, where you have 6 people doing different things. Let's say you're designing, you're like, oh my gosh, well, I'm afraid to have someone else do it because if they do it, then maybe they'll steal my clients. yeah, I know you could have agreements in place, but still, we know people do that. The great thing about breaking things up is you can kind of create it like an assembly line where everyone is doing something different, so no one has control over what's happening. So maybe one person is intaking clients, maybe another person is setting things up, maybe another person is creating concepts, maybe you're just doing the final designs after you approve of the concepts, and maybe someone else is delivering the work, but they have no idea of any of the other people. You know what I mean? It's like, what I'm saying is like, you can broaden it out and spread it so no one has complete knowledge of what's happening. And by doing that, you can pay less because they're not doing a complicated job with multiple steps, and you're eliminating worries about competition and other stuff too.
Yep, totally agree. Okay, here's oh god, my mind's gone blank. What's the word? Where someone's against something.
The word is bird.
Bird is the word. What is the word? Where, not hesitation. You know what I'm trying to say. Where someone is
skeptical.
Someone's skeptical.
Reluctant?
Yeah, let's go with that. So someone's reluctant because they're worried, well, I don't really have time and don't want to spend a bunch of time managing these people. And that sounds like a headache to me, right? That's a pretty common sticking point here. So I would argue, yes, there might be a bit of that, but if you do it well, it should run like clockwork, especially if you're talking some of these smaller repeatable jobs. It's very different from having a full-time staff member in an office with you or something like that. Again, I would invest the time up front. You're about to ask for the nitty-gritty, right, Lisa?
Yeah, it's like, how do you do it well? How do you know you're doing it well? Because I don't think I'm taking advantage of Julie that I can, in the way that I can. Seriously.
I'd be happy to jump on another call with you and help with that. But we can dig into it a bit today for sure. What you do, particularly with remote people, you need to be crystal clear about the expectations. So you almost come up with a job description, a very clear list of tasks. You talk them through it. You get them on a call. You screen share. You ask repeatedly, have they got any questions, anything they're stuck on? You do that for the first few weeks, certainly, like how's it going? What are you struggling with? You check all their work. You give them feedback. It is work up front, and I appreciate that might be a bit daunting, but it scales with what you're doing, right? If you've got someone doing half an hour a week on the simplest job in the world, it's literally, here's a document, go do this. And then it's like, okay, good job, you did it. Or you kind of screwed up there, fix that, great, now you've got it. And
dude, let's get meta.
Small. Okay, go.
Okay, check it out. We can get meta on this. So let's say you don't like trying to do that part. So outsource someone to do it. I'm going to record myself and I'm going to talk aloud while I process emails. Then I'm going to talk aloud while I do this. Then I'm going to hire someone on Upwork and say, turn this into step-by-step things for me. And then hire the person to do it and give them the step-by-step things that the person off Upwork already created for you.
And you know what? That's entirely doable. That's actually a kind of genius notion. And that would be super easy. I'll pay someone $50 to watch me ramble and turn that into a clear job description. And you will have HR type people on there who live and breathe that stuff and do a great job. Probably better than you can.
Marco does for us. It's just like
exactly
drivel, and then he somehow makes it so people will listen.
I think for me, I've personally, because obviously it's easy to delegate a specific job, and that's no problem for me. And I can say, okay, Julie, would you mind? I want you to clean, I don't know, this watercolor, take away the background, and blah blah blah. Okay, so that's pretty easy.
Yep.
But how do you? What I'm struggling with is that I feel like, because I know she's capable and I know I can trust her, I feel like I'm not utilizing that enough.
Sure.
So how do you integrate that person into your work?
Yep.
Or how do you know where to?
So
am I making sense?
Totally. So I would get a roadmap where you don't do it all overnight. You can stagger stuff out. I would get her on a call and be very candid and say, would you like more work from me? Do you want to scale things up, earn more money, work with me more? I would guess Julie would say yes. If she does, be like, great. Rather than just feed you a bunch of stuff and be like, go do that, I want to really involve you in the process. So let's jump on a call, have a discussion where I will break down all the stuff I'm doing. And I really want you to speak up if something jumps out that you would love to help with or think you could help with. And that way you're just pretty much emptying your brain on a call with her.
Yeah.
You're here's all the stuff I'm doing here. Just have an open conversation. And she'll most likely, if she's keen, be like, I can do that. I can help with that.
Yeah.
I'd like to try that.
Yes.
I think I could do that. and that's what you
That's
want.
a good idea.
But like,
Well,
she's
she's a listener to.
she's a listener to the show. She's going to see it coming.
Yeah, so I was going to say, well, Julie, you can, you're listening, so.
Yeah, Julie,
That's
Lisa
hilarious.
does not like this stuff that much. Please encourage her to get on a call with you. Like,
Yeah.
Julie is, by the sound of it, a lovely, talented adult, right?
She is.
So I'm sure just
Mhm.
having a conversation with her, she's
Yeah.
gonna want to articulate it. She's probably just there, like, currently not wanting to speak up, because generally, what person wants to be like, "Hey, you, why aren't you giving me more work?" People don't do that. But if you
No.
at least open up that dialogue, I'm sure she'd
Yeah.
jump at the chance.
Yeah. No, you're right. Okay.
I think too, people get like afraid about not like because if you look on a site and say, well, how much does a graphic designer make? And let's say you're thinking about hiring one as like a contractor, and it says, oh, the average one makes $70,000 a year or something like that. And you're like, I can't afford that. That's insane, right? But like, that's like a median or whatever. I mean, we're talking about like people in New York, like that, or in the Silicon Valley, places where you have to make, $140,000 a year to get by. And the real bottom line thing to it is, I remember when I was starting to get paid, $20, $30 an hour and be able to work from home on my laptop or a coffee shop. That was a dream. I mean, that was an abstract dream that I was huge. So to people that you're offering outsourcing work like that, that's amazing for them. I mean, a lot of people really want that. I did. I would have happily done it for,
of course,
less than $20. I'm not saying
I did
less
it.
than that, but hey,
I did it. I was at university, and I had an agency who would give me a regular line of work. I didn't have the propensity at that age to be drumming up clients regularly, so they provided the work. I did web design for them. The client had no idea I was involved. They ended up making all the money on top, which was nice and easy and convenient for them. I got paid probably pretty cheaply, but at the time, it was good money for me as a student. And so I would sit in bed, really hungover, making websites, which I love to do, and getting better at web design. And I was absolutely like chuffed. I loved that setup. It was great.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So there's an example of there is somebody out there who wants to do the work.
Yeah, 100%. But just don't hire someone like I was, because I was always super last minute with things, and generally hung out. That was in my student days. Yeah, I'm such a believer in it, honestly. I'm thinking of one of my followers. I'm not going to name and shame her, but she pretty much alluded to me that she wanted to do something along the lines of an agency, and that would be the dream, to become more of a creative director and grow out a team underneath her. Yeah, even with that very clear goal, she has been quite unwilling to hire people. And if you're listening, nameless person, I'm not trying to be mean. I like nag you and want to help you with this, and I realize it's not the easiest thing in the world, but
Gotta do it.
I can see the end goal for her, and it's so cool. It's like, I know, like, I can tell that she'd be good at it, and she just needs to take that first step, because it's like, well, the work's coming in, everything's good there, but I refuse to let go of it at all. And
Well, you know what I can tell her to encourage her. The idea of the step is actually scarier than making the step. So she's got to just like ignore what she's thinking and all those fears and questions and whatever, and just literally do it. Because then you can, then once you've done it, then it's over. Then all those fears and anxieties will kind of, get less.
And it should be a little partnership and a friendship, right? Like you and Julie.
Yeah.
You should ideally get on well with the person.
Oh, you must.
And
I mean,
that's
definitely.
a really sweet thing, right? Especially if you're working from home or working alone. Suddenly you have this kind of work companion that you can bounce stuff off of, and that has all kinds of benefits beyond the immediate ROI of what you pay them versus what gets output for your business. Like that, you'll feel more inspired, more content. You get that human interaction. Like, there's all these side benefits.
It's so true.
Yeah.
I could like safely say that Suzanne just being like a third, like an outside party in a way, looking in on it freshly, will oftentimes be like, for example, we noticed that like this one bundle we had was selling well, and she said, that's selling really well. Like, why? I don't understand. Why don't you make more bundles? Like, why don't I put more of my products together and increase the price by having them together? And I was like, oh yeah, good idea. And I did that, and it's got to have brought my revenue up like insane. So, I mean, you just, you lose sight. You lose sight when you're the person running something every day, and having people around you it's like having like a hive mind.
Yeah, it's very cool. Can we think of any other reasons why people wouldn't want to delegate? Objections. I think that's the word I was looking for.
I think people, for me at least, I think people are under the false assumption that hiring someone costs money, when really it makes you money in most cases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my assumption. I was like, well, this costs money. I lose money doing this. That's not true. You make more money.
But even it's even worthwhile noting that even if it's not necessarily, as we mentioned, not necessarily making you money for your business, if it means that you are a nicer person at home because you're less stressed, or you have time to go out with your kids, or meet your husband for that glass of wine after work or whatever, and you're not this horrendous human being to be around, then that's worth
Gold.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It completely is. Although even in a monetary sense, you can make it as simple as, what is your hourly rate, or what's it boiled down to if you've got a day rate or whatever, and what are you going to pay them? If your hourly rate is $60 an hour and you're going to pay them $20 an hour, that's going to benefit you. You're going to effectively make $40. I know it doesn't always map out exactly like that, but if you do it right, you get an hour back, you lose $20, but with that hour, you try and do more work, more client stuff, whatever it might be.
Yeah. And a good exercise to do, what helped me when I wasn't hiring anyone, but I was renting premises like for my business, and I was really scared to do that because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to cover the rent. You can work it out, like how many, I don't know, logo designs do I have to do in that month to cover that rent, and it makes it easier and less intimidating if you break it down like that, because you understand what a logo design takes and how much you can charge. So you can say, okay, well, I only need to do 3 to cover that. Then I'm sorted. So it's not as scary then.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think a lot of people, I have this feeling, and I think a lot of people have this feeling, especially, we'll be like, oh, our business are doing so good, we work for ourselves. And that makes the assumption that, oh, you have plenty of money and this is reserved for people with tons of money sitting around or something. And that is so not true. In fact, it might be more true that it's needed for people that don't. I guess the thing is people think it's hard and it's reserved for a very specific thin bandwidth of people in a certain situation.
So true.
And the reality is that it's not hard. It's not as scary to do as you think. And when you do it, it completely changes your life. It's not hard. It's no harder than going and I don't even know. It's not any harder than going to the DMV. I mean,
well, unless you're Ian and then you smash the place up, drive through the wall.
Yeah.
That's pretty hard.
Bottom line is...
They put on my face and say, don't come back ever again.
This isn't something for confident, sophisticated business people. I mean, look at all of us.
Well,
Sans Lisa, maybe.
Yeah, there's not a sort of confident, slick character amongst us, I'm afraid.
No.
Lisa, I mean, not Lisa. Ian's literally drinking out of a gigantic trash can looking thing right now.
It's because I've started to properly exercise and I have to get through a lot of water.
Nice. Hydration's
I'm playing
important.
with Ian. Love you.
By the way, I loved the reaction from the listeners on the personal episode we did. It was so good. I don't know if you guys got the same thing. We've got a lot of love from it, and especially around Lisa's criminal past.
Yes, people were horrified that I was a criminal.
It's been so funny though, like because we did it on a whim. We're like, we kind of feel like doing this. We don't know if it's going to be too dumb or whatever. It's got like the most comments ever, so we should just really chat about ourselves and never talk about design again.
I can't even remember what I said.
By the way, there's another thing. If you're curious about someone's background, you can go to places like Upwork and literally for next to nothing, you can get a complete background check of them and find out what kind of crimes they've committed.
Shall we all delegate so next week it's not the 4 of us? I'm going to have like Pablo show up.
Dude, that would be the coolest episode. We should all delegate our roles out to people to be here for us.
And we need to give them a character. Be like, I want you to be kind of a dick, but with a heart of gold. Go.
Yeah. give them a couple lines to base off. Here's some recurring themes. Be sure to say I'm curious.
So Ian, I know you follow Gary V.
Yes.
And he is someone I know is a big fan of delegation. And there's two things which he said, which I try and keep front of mind, because I have to remind myself about this stuff as well. And one of them was give people the rope, and they're either gonna, do something with it and climb it, or they're gonna hang themselves, right? And
I've never heard that one. So
have you not? So
no.
The basic principle is stop micromanaging and worrying about every tiny thing. You get the final say. There's no real risk. You're not going to put out their work if you're not happy with it. But at the minute, I'm trying to do this more with my team, because the more freedom you give people, often they really shine if they're good enough.
You're right.
So I keep opening my mouth and start like, I'm about to tell someone how something he's doing, and then I'm like, actually, you do it. And then I'll sit back and watch and see how you do it. So that's one thing. Yeah. Another thing is, if you actually want to build something bigger than you, realize that someone else's 80% is better than your 100%. They're probably, in some cases, you hire someone who rocks it and they're better than you. But I know there's, and no disrespect to them, they're super talented, but I know there are some people on my team where I know I could probably do an even better job, but I don't care because they do a perfectly great job. It might be 89% out of 100. It's good enough for me. They do an awesome job. People love their work, and it lets it build it out, because there's no cloning machine. It doesn't work like that.
So true.
So I think that's two things to bear in mind, because that is another sticking point for people. Unless they do it 100% as good as me, I will never give this work up. And it's that's probably not going to happen, especially if it's around your core skill. You need to live with the fact it might not be quite as good, but it's going to be definitely good enough.
Yeah. Well said.
Cool. Any closing thoughts, folks? This is quite a businessy episode, but as I say, I can't think of a single one of my followers, and a lot of them follow the show. Can't think of a single one of them that wouldn't benefit from this on some scale. Big, small, have the money, don't have so much money. All of them could do it to some extent and be happier, grow their businesses, and benefit from it. You hear me, guys? Yep. I'm looking at you.
Okay, here is. Can I say something in terms of in a social media sense?
Yes.
Actually, more in you could get someone to write a blog for you, in terms of you could get someone to do all the research. And so, if you were trying to get yourself out there, a blog is a good way of getting content out there if you don't want to be on camera. So you could work with a writer to come up with content around your passion, if you feel that that's something you struggle with, or you haven't got time for doing. And so then you could work with them. So this is what I want to cover, but I'm just not very good at doing it. And they could research into it and put it together. And so you could start building, and then you could have ads on that page to cover the cost of the person that's doing the work for you. So, and that's a way down, sort of something I would more think about, than because my business is very, very varied, and so there's not always the sort of clear cut path of where things can be. And it could be I suppose researching for YouTube videos could be something I could have, sort of, rather than the actual physical making of the videos. It's actually the pre-production in terms of what is the content going to look like.
There's endless. They could be saying, here's what's trending, here's big topics you should be covering. They could be doing the YouTube cover art and thumbnails and that kind of thing. They could even watch the video and do the description for you.
Or the translations.
Yeah, exactly.
And exactly. And what, as designers, what we're seriously guilty about, we often think we want to go out and be a freelancer, and then you get stuck on the logo design, you get stuck on doing the website because you want it to be perfect, and you spend hours and hours and hours and hours designing the stuff because you are the designer. You think you should be able to do your stuff to put it together. When in actual fact, if you actually paid somebody, not only would it end up being cheaper because they get it done, rather than, spending hours doing it yourself. And while someone else is doing it for you, you can actually go out and get the business, instead of spending hours trying to figure out how to, get something to look amazing in CSS code and whatever else. I don't even know all the stuff, the jargon. But you know what I'm saying? Like we make that mistake. And I know I made that mistake. And the second time I had my website redesigned, instead of spending so much time on it myself, I just got somebody else to do it. And yeah, what a difference.
This is music to my ears, Lisa. You were one of my hardest people to nag into submission with this. I'm so happy to hear it. And also, right, here is a closing thought, right? Without delegation, there would be no industry. No one would have a job.
There would be no us.
Yeah, literally, no one would have a job unless the whole world was somehow self-employed. Like, down to the guy you pay to mow your lawn. Like, people want jobs. People want to do this stuff. Give them the jobs they want.
Exactly.
Let's make the world great again.
I tell you, I could do with some physical people, like someone just to literally follow me around wherever I go and tidy up after myself. That would make.
Well, there's probably people out there.
That's why you've got children in child labour.
No, they won't tidy up after me.
That works the other way.
Oh yeah.
But it's literally I wherever I go, I leave a trail of destruction. I go and make a coffee, and I'm
Sounds like
trying to put the coffee grind on, into the cup, and it's like steady. Oh, it's all over the floor. It's everywhere. It's all on the wall.
I love this. It's like a recurring theme for you.
Yeah.
The world's clumsiest stuntman / handler. I love
That would make a good series, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it really would.
Yeah.
Very Buster Keaton or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you end up with the head, nothing else.
Anyway, I hope this week was helpful for all you listeners out there. Remember, challenge, go away, write down everything that you do, work out what you don't like, what can save you time, work out what you can delegate, make the steps, start small. Don't jump in with both feet. You don't have to at the start, and just get the stuff done. From all of us, we're collectively nagging you now. So, yeah, we appreciate you tuning in as always. Thanks a lot. More personal episodes to come as well, because I think we want to hear more about the criminal mastermind that is Miss Lands.
Should have a spin-off show.
Little evil Pink Panther style theme tune or something. But yeah, we will catch you guys next week as always. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. We hope that you'll consider hiring others to help you. It's been a game changer for your hosts, and we hope our example shows you some of the many benefits. As always, you can find full show notes over at honestdesigners.com, or find us over on iTunes and now Spotify by searching for The Honest Designers Show. And remember, we're now on social media too, if you search for Honest Designers. If today's episode helped you, then it would mean the world to us if you took just a moment to leave us a quick review over on iTunes, as this is one of the best ways for other designers to discover the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and we will see you next week right here on The Honest Designers Show.